Good evening and welcome to the Widdershins yarn. My name is Stevie.
I'm Lillias.
And we'll be your guides as we wander off the beaten track and into the queer, crooked corners of the mind. This podcast is an exploration into the folklore, aesthetics, and social psychological impact of the horror genre. And tonight, we're talking again about witches.
Yay!
Part 2. Intro music.
Intro music.
Intro music.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
We're coming to get you, Barbara. I sounded drunk on that, introduction.
I haven't even had coffee yet. Jesus Christ, Stevie, you're starting early.
I know, sorry. Goodness gracious, how are you this fine evening, Lillias?
Evening. We record these in the morning. Okay, they come out in the evening. Fair enough. This evening, not had enough coffee yet because it's the morning.
There goes my attempt at creating some kind of horror mystique.
I'm not very good at mystique.
No.
I'd like to be mysterious and enigmatic. And I'm just not.
At the moment, we are, curled up in our respective recording spaces, nursing cups of coffee, attempting to feel alive, because it's
I
gonna...
have my fluffy blanket around me as well, so I can pretend that I'm still in bed, because I slept in this morning, so...
And to be fair, so did I. And I also am covered in a blanket to
Yay.
warm my old bones, because I'm starting to feel it now that I'm 30.
Yeah, very that.
Yeah, well, it's that wonderful time of the year. It's cold, it's spooky.
The time of seasonal affective disorder.
The time of sad lamps and stories about the occult. And that's what we're going to do today. We are going to talk about witches once more. Last episode, we started off this conversation about witches. Obviously, we featured the work of Tony Sosa, Summerland, The Gospel of Noah. So if you haven't checked out that episode, please check it out, and please check out Tony's book, all that jazz. And to be honest, because I'm so passionate about witches as a topic, I thought we could just continue today. And we're going to talk about some famous witches in witch history and witch lore. So, yeah. So,
How many do we have? How many we were talking about today?
We're going to talk about four famous witches.
Okay, so this is our top 4 famous witches.
It is our top 4 famous, the top hits of the smash hits of witchcraft. But actually, before we move on to speaking about these figures, these historical figures, I was wondering, Lillias, are there any witches in either fact or fiction which really stick out in your mind?
That one witch called Lillias.
Your namesake.
Yeah, I can't remember anything about her. I think her head's buried on a beach somewhere. Or her head was buried on a beach somewhere, and then they dug it up, and it's now somewhere. I don't know. But, yeah, there was a witch called Lily. She was one of the last witches to be killed in the Scottish witch trials. That's where my knowledge of that ends. Because I just went, oh, cool, she got my name.
I wonder why the folklore is kind of based around her head. Is it because they chopped her head off?
I think she was beheaded, yeah, and her head was buried, near the water. I imagine that the tide line has changed a lot since then, so it was less on the beach than it was when they found it. But yeah.
I wonder if that's connecting to vampire lore, in that you cut the head off, and then that way, they can't become creepy. Vampires
Seeing
are
as this
undead.
is your top 4 favourite witches, should we do my top 4 favourite witches?
Yes.
I'll have to find the top 4 favourite witches.
Yeah,
well, this is there, so that's 1. I got 3 to find.
1. Yeah.
I think there's probably a little bit of overlap with mine and yours, but
And I think as well, like,
Look out.
if we're talking about famous witches, I think we can also cover, you know, witches in, like, say, for example, novels, films, because, I mean, there's
Yeah.
tons of, you know, fantastic witches. Like, you know, for me growing up, the Grand High Witch in the Witches film, the original film, was fucking terrifying. And I think, oh my god, what's her name? Who's the actress who plays her? Angelica Houston! Angelica Houston was just the most amazingly, fabulously terrifying witch with, like...
We have such different approaches to childhood. I like how yours was like the terrifying high witch and that Roald Dahl thing. Mine is that Mildred Hubble. From the Worst Witch series.
But are we talking about the books or are we talking about the TV
Oh my god,
series?
the books. Though, to be technically correct, the audiobooks, because my brother was dyslexic, so my mum bought loads of audiobooks, and being the younger sibling, it was my duty to steal them all. So, Worst Witch, I think I heard most of them as audiobooks, but there's totally a few that I didn't, because my eldest is into them now, and he is devouring them, and there is definitely more Worst Witch than I thought there was. And now we're also watching the TV show together, which is awesome.
Oh, that's really cute. Like, are you watching? Is it the original TV show, or is there like like an adaptation? Like,
I don't know. I have no idea.
does one look like it came out in the 90s?
I can't remember the 90s. So I was there. I remember
Well.
Pokemon.
I mean, who doesn't remember Pokemon?
There is huge chunks of my life I have literally no memory of, and that's probably one of them. I remember, like, listening to the Worst Witch audiobooks. I can't remember a TV show, but my friend has told me that there is a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah was my best friend in primary school, and she was like, yeah, there was a TV show. You used to watch it. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, no, the TV show used to be excellent. Like, the, words! The woman that played Mrs. Hardbroom, or Miss Hardbroom, was, like, again, terrifying. Why do I gravitate to all the terrifying witches? That says a lot about my personality, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, though, I have heard that the new Witches film has been absolutely panned.
Really?
Yeah, like, absolutely panned. And people as well are kind of... They're, like... I think people are now much more critical of the potential kind of anti-Semitic ideas that are coming through the witches. Because apparently Roald Dahl was a bit of an anti-Semite. Apparently, I'm not sure, but you know.
I'd never heard that, but I mean, it's 2020. It wouldn't surprise me. Do you know what I mean? The amount of things you're like, oh, and they were racist and they were anti-Semitic, and you're like, I mean, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Shall we start with our first famous witch, who's a favourite of mine?
Give me your top 4 witches.
Okay, so my first favourite witch is, well, I mean, she's technically, I guess, more of a spirit than a witch, but she encompasses this idea of witchcraft. And she is Pombagira from different forms of Afro-Brazilian cults. So, like, Kimbanda, Umbanda, Candomblé, cults like that. So she rules over areas of things like sex, love, loss, heartbreak, vengeance, but she is also very much equated with witchcraft. And she is honoured as a guiding spirit when it comes to these kinds of areas. Kitty! Ooh, bum in the face. Hi, kitty!
You're really lovely, but, like, we're recording.
And she's like, let
Did
me
you
stay!
stop? Oh my god, she's done something to the recording. It's okay, I think she's just made the box tinier by mistake. It's okay. Right, okay.
Okay.
She's moved back to her corner, leaving loads of hair behind her. Right, continue!
So Pombagira as a spirit, she rules over these areas, but she's very, very connected with witchcraft, and is often propitiated and called upon by practitioners of these kind of syncretic religions to work magic. She's also known as the Devil's Mistress and a seducer and destroyer of men. I mean, same. I mean,
She's your type.
Exactly, yes. What's quite interesting about Pombagira is that she's often conflated with historical figures. I guess kind of connecting this idea that kind of within these cults there's this idea of like ancestor veneration and all that kind of stuff. So for example, there's a figure called Maria Padilla who was the mistress and later wife of Don Pedro I of Castile. And Maria Padilla was really not liked by the royal court of the time because she had a lot of influence over the king, essentially. And
we can't have a woman with influence or power.
No, exactly. You can't.
Burn her, witch.
What? She has opinions. Kill her. And she reputedly was involved in poisoning his legitimate wife, so his first wife. Although that is not, I mean, again, that's propaganda kind of against her, but she was apparently this figure that was very, very well versed in, like, magic, in witchcraft, in poisons.
That's interesting that there's a parallel to what we were talking about last week with Anne Boleyn.
Yes. Well, it is, isn't
Mistress
it? You know?
that the people don't like, therefore witch.
Yeah, totally. She's, a woman who has influence over a powerful man who is potentially involved in his decisions in court, so therefore she's evil and she's a witch. Unfortunately, well, yeah, exactly. I think apparently after his first wife died, he did actually end up marrying Maria. But she died of the plague in 1361. But upon her death, she kind of ended up getting absorbed into the Legion of Spirits, which kind of encompass Pombagira. Pombagira is a powerful spirit because she will, according to these religions and their beliefs, because she was once human, she understands and she empathizes with human needs and desires, and that's something which kind of separates her from, say, your more traditional, like, Catholic saints, who, because they are so holy, they are almost separate from, the actual struggles of ordinary people, whereas spirits like Pombagira, because she was a naughty girl, she understands.
Relatable.
Yeah, because she's a bad girl, or something. But yeah,
Dedicated bad bitch.
Yeah, basically. And she's invoked as like a patron of the marginalised, the oppressed, the poor, all that kind of stuff. And also, apparently, she is invoked as a patron of queer people, which I thought was quite interesting.
Oh,
so,
cool.
effeminate gay men and trans women within these communities often have her as a patron because she is seen to...
Be a bad bitch.
Yeah, and also to, like, embrace their femininity, and like, embrace it and love it. And not
And I
condemn
guess
it.
it's that power of the outcast as well, again.
Yeah, definitely. She's all like, "Rah! Fuck the patriarchy."
We love it.
We love it. So yeah, that's Pombagira. I would say, she's a fantastic witch woman. She embraces the idea of sovereignty and power and personal agency. And I love her. So she gets a solid 10 from me. So my next favourite and top witch in my top 4 is the infamous Baba Yaga.
I love Baba Yaga.
I fucking love Baba Yaga. She is amazing. She is the ferocious mother witch of Slavic folklore. And she is so pertinent, I think, to Slavic culture. Like, she is the ultimate kind of boogeyman figure in Slavic folklore, to the point where in John Wick, the film... Have you ever seen John Wick?
No.
They call John Wick Baba Yaga. but they translate it as boogeyman, and I'm like, Baba Yaga, it doesn't translate as boogeyman. She is a boogeyman figure, but she's not the boogeyman. because her name translates as like wicked old woman or wicked grandmother. So I always have like a little laugh to myself when I watch John Wick, and they're like, yes, John Wick, the old woman, and I'm like,
Oh, bless. That's
but,
lovely.
it is.
I came across Baba Yaga as a kid in a book called, I think it's called like The Wise Doll or something like that. I'll have to check around to see if I've still got it. It's the sort of book I'd hang on to, but I think I maybe gave it to a lady I know who's a storyteller, because it was just one of those stories that hit me as a kid. And it's about, I can't remember if she was captured or if she was like just there. I'm not sure, but there's 3 other sisters, and they're all kind of evil and witchy, and then there's Baba Yaga as like the head evil witchy. Or maybe the 3 sisters are nice. I can't remember. But basically this girl ends up going on a killing spree because a small doll told her, and then runs away. And I'm like, damn right. This is my kind of story.
And I'm like, damn right. I love how earlier you were like, Stephen, you're such the dark witch. You know, you really love like the Grand High Witch. I like Mildred Hubble. And then you're like, yeah, damn right. Told the girl to kill people. Woohoo.
It's only just like dawned on me now that that's basically the concept of a horror. A little girl, she gets told to kill everybody by a small doll.
And it's great. 10 out of 10.
It's great. 10 out of 10. Love it.
Oh, it's
I can't
funny.
actually remember if that was even the plot. I think there's a... I think, like, she gets set tasks by Baba Yaga that are, like, impossible tasks kind of thing, and the doll does them for her while she's asleep. So,
Yes.
I mean, white privilege, but...
And I kept a teeny tiny slave.
Oh my god! And then, in traditional white person thing, she went and killed everybody and ran away.
Colonialism. The musical. Or if it's Russian, the ballet.
But yeah, I love Baba Yaga's house on the chicken legs, and just the general kind of depiction of her was really cool.
She's
and
amazing.
I think you can see the kind of influence of her in things like Studio Ghibli films. I think there's a lot of influence from like Slavic folk tales and stuff within there.
Especially in like Spirited Away, with the witch is the witch not called Baba? I think the witch might be called Baba in Spirited Away.
I literally watched it like yesterday.
I can't remember what she's called. Oh, Kitty again.
Got a kitty cameo.
But
yes, very lovely, but you cannot be here just now.
So yeah, in terms of like Baba Yaga's kind of appearance, she's often depicted as this like spindly, hideous old hag.
Yubaba, that's her name. Her name's Yubaba.
It is Yubaba.
Sorry, continue.
which is obviously like a link to Baba Yaga, definitely. And you can see, because like you know how Yubaba has like that really long nose. Like again, I didn't realize that was a feature of Baba Yaga, but she has this really like long nose, and something I didn't also realize in folklore, she has iron teeth, which she uses to like eat children. I was like, oh,
Probably.
but iron teeth.
I got that vibe.
Well, you know. She flies through the air on like sat in like an enchanted mortar, and she uses a pestle to like direct her through the air. I'm doing the motion. You can't see it, but that's what I'm doing.
I really want to draw that now. I want to draw Baba Yaga so much.
You really
so
should.
ways.
I think your style could really do Baba Yaga justice, to be honest. So
I still need to finish Lilith, so
yeah.
one day.
One day.
I will.
And yeah, like as you said, Baba Yaga kind of... Actually, no, I'm going to let you describe. Tell us about Baba Yaga's house.
Oh, it's from the pictures I've seen anyway, the way it's depicted in illustrations, it's like this fabulous rickety cottage, like proper fairy tale evil cottage thing. Love that cottagecore aesthetic. I'm there for it, but dark. And it runs around on chicken legs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fully for that.
It's amazing.
It's, again, Howl's Moving Castle. Like, as soon as I saw the images for Howl's Moving Castle, I was like, Baba Yaga.
I never even thought of that. That is so true. Oh my god, yes. So fucking true. Yeah, and like, what I like about Baba Yaga is that in folklore, like, she's quite an ambiguous figure. Like, in some ways, she's a villain. In some ways, she's actually, like, a helper. It's really weird. Because she is known to both kind of help or hinder the kind of the hero of the story. And some believe that Baba Yaga is actually like a mask of the Slavic folk goddess Makosh, who is the goddess of the earth. And she kind of has this role of like a divine initiator for like young men and women, in that she puts them through like a terrifying challenge, but by going through that challenge, she essentially helps them grow and become like adults and all that kind of stuff. So there's this weird kind of initiatory aspect to Baba Yaga. But I just love her. She's a bad bitch.
She is a bad. In case I can't like sort out my audio from my cat, I'm just gonna apologize now for the scratching noises in the background. She's inside one of the boxes on my shelf and she's having a whale of a time, and I'm not gonna stop her because she's a cat and I can't stop her.
Well,
she's also vicious as fuck. I love her.
Well, exactly. I think it fits for the witch episode, to be honest, to have a cat like
to have a cat just wrecking things in the background.
She knows what she's doing. Cool. Well, yeah, that's Baba Yaga, who is awesome, and I love Baba Yaga. My next famous witch is maybe not a figure that I love, because he's more creepy and terrifying, but I think his story is really, really interesting. And this figure is Gilda Ray. Have you heard anything about Gilda Ray before?
I don't think so.
So, Gilda Ray was a really wealthy French baron who lived in the 15th century. And he was known as being a really, really powerful military commander. Like, he was a really well-respected military commander. So much so that he was actually Joan of Arc's bodyguard.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, so he was chosen to be Joan of Arc's bodyguard during the English dispute for the French throne. I'm like, so he went to war with Joan of Arc, essentially.
That's cool.
And after that kind of turbulent period of history, he kind of went back to like his lavish lifestyle. And he was known for having like a really, really ridiculously lavish lifestyle, like massive parties, hiring hundreds of servants. So much so that he actually eventually found himself in debt, like really, really severely in debt. And did what all people do when, you know, they find themselves severely in debt. He turned to black magic. Apparently turned to black magic. You know, he's like, fuck, I can't pay my bills. Get me the goat. let's sacrifice the goat. But he became really infamous for all these apparent experiments that he carried out. Alchemical experiments, and people in France generally became quite fearful of him. Again, this is the folklore surrounding him. Whether or not it's actually true, who knows. But unfortunately, he's most famous for his involvement in the apparent abduction and murder of children for his evil satanic rites. Yeah. And in September...
I mean, when Baba Yaga does it, it's cool. When a guy does it, no. Well, probably because Baba Yaga is folklore and stories, and there's the possibility of truth in a historical figure.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, Gilda Ray is known as one of, like, the first documented serial killers. And I'm not really going to discuss it on the podcast because I don't think it's appropriate, but like the stuff that he did was apparently horrific. But in September of 1440 he was arrested and he was found guilty of the murder of over 140 children.
Oh my god.
And he was executed on October 26th of
Yay!
the same year. However, there's a bit of an issue with Gilderay because there was some speculation as to whether or not he was actually guilty of the crimes he was accused of. Because some believe it was a political move to kind of essentially smear his name and confiscate his lands by the church. And, I mean, the Catholic Church...
That's not the most far-fetched theory in the world.
Well, I mean, you look at what the Catholic Church did to, like, the Templars, you know, because they obviously claimed they were performing satanic rites, but the Templars were incredibly wealthy, and so by confiscating their lands, they accumulated a lot of wealth. So, I don't know, there's some speculation as to whether or not Gilderay was actually guilty, and he basically defended himself and said he was innocent right up until the end. He was unfortunately tortured to kind of get a confession, but he did recant that and say that he was innocent. So, whether or not it's true, but apparently staff of his did witness him committing these, like, horrific atrocities. So,
but then how much were the staff paid and to say that and
exactly.
all that kind of stuff, yeah.
It is speculation.
Okay, so it's, yeah.
It's but he
it's
is
kind of folklore in itself now, isn't it?
he is known as one of the kind of darkest figures in kind of like witch folklore and black magic, and as I said, he also is considered to be one of the world's first documented serial killers, but there is speculation about Gilderay. So, but that's history for you.
Hey. Wait, when was Lady This is a side note, we can cut this out, but when was Lady Bathory?
Elizabeth Bathory.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I would love to cover her though for like a vampires episode because she's amazing.
She's interesting.
She's really
Hold
well,
on,
not
I'm
amazing.
very quickly gonna check because it's 1614 she died.
Okay,
so around is that the same time? Wait, what did you say? 14.
He was 1440.
Cool. So he was before her then.
Yeah.
It was just in case a man was claiming the space of a woman again. Do you know what I mean? Just forget the female serial killers. God.
She's like,
They
excuse
worked
me.
hard. They deserve their spot.
Well, she's like, excuse me, but I was here before you, so let's.
I was killing children long before this guy. But we only remember the men.
I know. What the fuck, patriarchy.
Anyway, sorry, back to podcast.
Back to podcast. So yeah, my final favourite in my top 4, who is a bit of a tragic figure actually, and I'm like, oh, but is Mother Shipton. Have you heard of Mother Shipton before?
It rings a bell, but
So again,
I could have studied her for years and have no memory of it, so...
So Mother Shipton, again, there's some speculation as to whether or not she actually existed, but she was a famous English seer that lived in the 16th century. And she was believed to have been born from a union between her mother and the devil. And the reason why this was the case is because apparently she was really ugly. And
oh, baby!
Right? So because she was really ugly, apparently she must have been formed from some unnatural union. And you're like, wow, that's nice. So much so that she was affectionately nicknamed Hagface by those who knew her. And I'm like...
Considering the levels of inbreeding at the time, like, someone born looking a bit off wasn't that far-fetched.
I just think that's really cruel. Like, really, really cruel. And again,
Yeah.
it reminds me of what we talked about last week, in that anyone who had any kind of difference attached to them, witch! Burn them!
Yeah.
But, her incredibly ugly, apparent ugliness aside, because I hate that, she was hailed as being a gifted psychic, and she was actually proclaimed as the English equivalent to Nostradamus, which is quite interesting. You know who Nostradamus is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vaguely.
Um,
no, I did.
But she predicted all these. She apparently predicted all these really famous events. Like, apparently she predicted the Great Fire of London. She predicted, like, the onset of, like, technology, like the car. she didn't foresee the apocalypse of 2020, but we can forgive her for that. But like, yeah, so she was really well known for being this amazing seer. She died a relatively peaceful death in the fact that she wasn't like hung or burned at the stake or strangled. But
I mean, winning, to be honest, for anybody slightly different at the time.
But thing is, really sad though, she was apparently buried on the outskirts of York, where she lived, in like an unmarked grave in unhallowed ground, because she was a witch, so therefore she wasn't allowed a proper religious burial. So, according to folk belief of the time, that meant she went to hell. Because like, if she wasn't buried in holy ground, then she didn't have a consecrated death, and so therefore she went to hell. And you're like, wow.
Damn, people are dicks, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. She's my fave. Like, I've got a lot of time for Mother Shipton. I'm just imagining this poor woman who's just like totally belittled and attacked, but she's like mega seer.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, whether you believe she was psychic or not, it sounds like she was really smart. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She survived. I mean, up until she died. But 1 to 2. But also, you know, predicting this stuff, from my point of view, might not necessarily have been psychic ability, but could have just been intelligence.
They're gonna have a better thing
An
than
intelligent
horses.
woman.
No,
Quick
but
barrier on unholy ground. She must be going to hell.
but that's the thing, though, isn't it? It's almost like I'm gonna predict that we're gonna have a better thing than horses one day. Which?
I'm gonna predict that you guys are all assholes in the future. I'm just saying.
Yep, totally. But I like for this episode, it was really fun actually researching all these figures, and interesting seeing like the diversity of figures that come through under this banner of witches and witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's just a little taste of some witch history, which I hope everybody has enjoyed.
It was fun. I enjoyed.
Me too. I'm slightly garbled, but that's fine.
What are we doing next time in 2 weeks?
Hi, it's Editing Lil here. Just really quickly to say that we totally got our dates wrong. It is not in 2 weeks. We're going to say 2 weeks quite a lot. It is not 2 weeks. It is next week. Next week, Boxing Day, 26th of December. That's the Krampus episode. Okay, right. Editing me is done. I love you. Bye.
In 2 weeks' time, we're going to have our next episode of The Grimoire Club.
Ooh.
So we're looking at the book Krampus the Yule Lord by the artist and author Brom. Brom's artwork in and of itself is amazing, so you really should check his artwork out. But Brom has done some really interesting adaptions of stuff like Peter Pan. His adaptation of Peter Pan is really fucking dark and awesome, and I love it. So yeah, I thought for the Christmas season we could look at Krampus, because who doesn't want to look at Krampus at Christmas? So yeah, we're going to look at the book by Brom. We're going to talk about some of the weird European Christmas traditions, like Krampus, for example, but also weird traditions around various folk saints and stuff that happens at this time of year. Spooky.
Cool.
And also
spooky season.
It is spooky season again. And yeah, we're also going to talk about the Krampus Christmas horror film, because I fucking love that film. It's so good.
I haven't seen it. I might summon up the courage to watch it before we record that episode.
I mean, it's more comedy horror, so it is good.
Oh,
but
okay, cool.
It's on Netflix. You should watch it. It's really, really good.
Okay.
I fucking love Krampus. But yeah, tune in next time to hear us babble on about the magic of the occult and horror. And yeah, we will see you next week.
Cool.
No, 2 weeks' time.
Oh yeah, find us on Instagram at the Widdershins Yarn. Is it the Widdershins Yarn? Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. I don't want to give away the wrong thing. Everything will be linked below in the description.
Indeed. And
and actually, just for interest, maybe comment your favourite witch from history or from pop culture.
Yes, please do. And also as
Give us more to
well,
research.
yeah, like if you would like to comment on like your favourite witch, but also if you know of any weird spooky Christmas traditions as well, I would love to
cool.
hear them. Especially
Awesome.
if they're connected to figures like Krampus and stuff like that. So please, yeah, let us know.
Right.
Goodbye.
Love yous, bye!
They're
coming
coming
to
to
get
get
your
your
barbara.
You're beautiful. Would you like to leave? Would you like to fuckity fuck off anytime soon, or are you just gonna?
Kitty, you're
just want us to be
beautiful.
part of something?
You look like Linda Evangelista.
Want
Your
here?
smile is gorgeous. Did you stone those tights? Oh my... I mean, Kitty, you're just so wonderful. I mean, you could come out there in a diaper and everyone would just love you. Hello.
Are you singing songs again?